Chris.
Close to the camera.
See,
look, he's 5 pounds right now.
We're here at the media day for the 2021 Bassmaster Classic on Ray Roberts.
This is a tank. Look at the size of this thing.
Progress we've made so far on our Hobie PA14. Got it wired up for 12 volt right now. We got the P127. That money!
That's a monster!
Got one. Took him long enough, didn't it? He knows. You know that's your outro. I know, but I mean, like, I was waiting on you because, like, you just kind of put me on the spot and it's like it didn't flow. Like, whatever. All right, guys. All right, guys. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to One Objective tonight. We got a really good show lined up for y'all. We have got Drew Benton on. He's going to come on and talk about his 2022 season. We're going to go in and talk about his 2020, well, what 2023 it looks like for him. Just, you know, what lakes he's looking forward to and all that. But also, I want to let you guys know, so we're kind of getting back into our shows now. We've got everything straight with our iTunes. We got everything straight with all the glitches that we had there for several months. What is it, Chris? 6 months now or something?
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy. So got our next several shows already scheduled. So it's going to be a fun month. We got a lot planned. So really excited for that. Make sure you guys stay tuned with us. And I'll be doing the announcement next week for our next guest that we got coming on. I think you guys will really enjoy this one as well. But first off, I want to thank two of our sponsors it's really helped out with this show. One is new. The other one we've had on for several years now is Missile Baits. I want to thank them. Also, check out Waterland Sunglasses. Use promo code OneObjective to save 15% on your next order. Use that code at checkout. I've gotten them. I love them. I've been fishing. I've been hunting in them. They just been a great pair of sunglasses, and they got several different lenses. They got several different frames that you know to fit your face and all that. So make sure you go check out waterlandco.com and check out all that they have to offer for you. And like I say, help use that promo code, help support the show. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, guys. Like I said, we got a really good show lined up. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're listening from YouTube. Also go hit the thumbs up button and hit the thumbs up and share if you're listening on Facebook right now. And this show will be up. We should have it up by Tuesday morning for you guys to listen to on your way to work or at work or whatever. So, but Chris, how you been doing, man? It's been a nasty day today.
It's been raining.
Yeah. Now we got ice. So it's we got a lot of ice coming down right now, and it was a little bit just morning. And it tapered off.
I don't know if I'm getting any ice down here, and I didn't see any.
Oh, really?
I ain't been outside, so I don't know.
Oh, man.
I think it's just rain here.
It was hitting the roof pretty good here, and it was getting pretty nasty. I know George Flickinger was showing his live. His car was covered nice.
Oh, wow.
Lynchburg. So got Brittany in the show. We got Clay, got Chris Spencer. What's going on? I thank y'all for tuning in tonight. But anyways, if you haven't, go ahead and share this. Let's get some more people in here. Let's that way we can get some good questions in for Drew. If you got any questions, like we'll get them in. Hopefully we can get to all of them. It just depends on how everything goes and you know where we're at in the show. But anyways, Chris, let's go ahead and get Drew in here and talk to our guest tonight. Drew, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. Josh, how are you doing?
Oh, not too bad. I appreciate you taking the time. I know this is it's y'all's off season, but you're hunting right now. This is y'all's hunting season. Well, I don't know. Is your hunting season still going? How much longer y'all?
Today was actually the last day of Georgia's season, and I'd actually tagged out right around Thanksgiving, so it was pretty much done for me. I actually was driving home last night from Okeechobee. Me and the boys went down there and made a lap around the lake and kind of refamiliarized myself with it. It's been several years since we've had an event there. And boy, it has changed since I started going there in 2009. I will tell you that.
Yeah, I've fished Florida waters. We fished Harris Chain last year for the kayak series, and that was a whole nother animal. I'm used to Virginia water, these deep reservoirs, and and you got alligators and you got all that stuff down there, man. It was totally different. And it's a different fishery to figure them fish out.
It really is. And it's just crazy to see it transition from, whenever I first went down there in 2009 to 2023, how much things have changed. Places that even when I won my first FLW tour event 2013, they don't even exist anymore. It's just, as you're riding around it looks like a totally new lake. It'll be a totally new challenge here in a month when we get there. And but the good thing about it is they still live there. You're just going to have to adjust with them and figure out the areas that have opened up and are new. We've got 3 foot more water. That place is just a giant puzzle to figure out anytime you go there. And it all has to do with water levels, the stage the grass is in, and then when you factor in the spraying that they do down there, everything kind of factors into what you have to come up with a good game plan towards, and it should be a good challenge.
How do you break down Okeechobee? Because Okeechobee is that's like a big bowl, right? Like how do you break down it? Like, because it's grass everywhere. I mean, it just, everything looks good.
Yeah. So driving down the other day, my wife was asking me the same question, and I told her, in 2009, my first trip down there, I practiced and I found some really good fish on the south end. I didn't really practice anywhere else on the lake because it was so big. It was my first time there, and I found a decent area, and I just kind of expanded on that area and put all my eggs in that basket. Well, the night before the tournament, we had a massive cold front come in. It blew so hard out of the north, it just blew an extra foot of water in there on the area and muddied it up, and I didn't do worth a flip in that tournament. So that right there told me that I need to practice for every wind on that lake, because in a 4-day event especially, you're going to get at least 2 or 3 different wind directions in that tournament. And the good thing about Okeechobee in the past is you had the north end around Kings Bar, Tin House Cove. You go around the east side to J&S Lock area, which had a big flat that, was a giant spawning area up there. You can go down to Pelican Bay, you can go to South Bay, on around the Clewiston, the West Wall, the Shoal, and then Harney Pond and the Monkey Box. And all of those areas you could win in, essentially. At any given time, you had good protected water, good habitat, and populations of fish to win in any of those areas at any given time. Now, all those areas are down by, I would say, at least 70%. So you're not going to have those options. And that's one thing that, attacking the lake now versus back then, you had a lot more areas to look at. Now it's going to be fishing a lot smaller than it had back in the day. So you're going to have fewer areas, but you're still going to have options, if that makes sense. So you're going to have something protected from a north wind, something protected from a south wind. And pretty much if it blows hard out of the east, it's going to be rough on everybody. So that's just one of the things you're going to have to factor in now that things have changed.
Yeah. I've always wondered how you guys broke them lakes down on Lake Okeechobee and all that, just because it's so much water to cover, like Harris Chain, for instance, it's the same thing. I mean, it's so much water to break down, and it is phenomenal that you guys are able to break that down in 3 days, basically, or 2.5 days,
Well, you take a place like Harris Chain and you can kind of take the wind out of the equation somewhat, and weather out of the equation, because it's not so giant and vast of a body of water. But you get on a place like the Great Lakes or Ontario or Okeechobee, and that's one factor that you have to put in there, because there's days that you can't go out there and you can't get to your fish. And that's just one of the things that's very important for Lake Okeechobee. And breaking it down, it's giant in volume and size, but the areas that you actually have to fish or actually can fish are relatively small. So it makes it a little bit easier.
And with that kind of lake there, I mean, when it comes to lure techniques and all that stuff, I mean, there is still a good amount of different techniques you can do, but a lot of it seems like you're you're primarily flipping or spinner baits, or you know what I mean? Like you can't really get that deep presentation nowhere out there, can you?
No, not really. Not unless you're in one of the canals or the rim ditch that goes all the way around the lake. Now, that is a factor. If there is a cold front, you'll see guys stay in the river, go in one of the canals and fish, rock piles and crank and stuff like that. But that's usually when Okeechobee's hitting on all cylinders. That's not a factor. It's going to be your meat and potatoes flipping, frog and swing jig, grass fishing style is going to prevail.
It's gonna be a fun tournament. It's gonna be a fun tournament to watch. Bassmasters always seems to hit those lakes just right, most of the time. So it's always fun to watch you guys down there in Florida, especially when we're back here freezing our butts off and we can watch you guys down there fishing in a nice warm weather for the most part.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. You just never know starting in February, even in Florida. But some of my best events or I won't say my best events, but the best fishing that I've ever seen down there would be right after a massive cold front. I remember one of the best tournaments I ever experienced down there. When I got down there for practice, there was ice on the boat when I went out for the first morning of practice, and then it slowly warmed up until the tournament, and all those fish came in droves, and there was just giants swimming around everywhere up shallow, and you could see them. And it's like that cold weather triggers them. It gets them ganged up, and when they get a warming trend on a moon, they just all flood the bank at once. It's definitely a sight to behold.
Yeah. What do you think? That's going to be a slugfest when everybody gets down there? Do you think it's going to be those huge bags brought in, or do you think it's still going to be? You're going to still have a few guys that are on them. It's always like that. But,
I don't think so anymore. Like I said, back in the day, you had so many areas guys could spread out, and you could have, I'll just say you'll have a few 30-pound bags, and say everybody in the top 50 would have 20 or better. Okay, I think those days are over right now. I think once some of that habitat comes back and guys can spread out, I think, across the board, the bags will be, really, really big like it was in the past. But I think this year you're going to have a couple guys that really, really crush them, and then it's going to taper off quickly. And the only reason for that is because we're going to be piled in there on top of each other, and it's going to fish small. And fish are going to get divided up a little bit. I don't think that that's anything negative on the lake. I think the lake's real healthy. I think it's got a lot of fish in it, a lot of big fish. It's just there's not as much fishable habitat and fishable water for us to get in that clear water, which is very, very important in Florida. With all those reed lines that have died off over the years and all those bays that were protected and held that clear water in, a lot of that's gone now. So it just keeps guys piled in on top of each other, and it's going to make it a little bit tough from that standpoint.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be a fun event. And we'll kind of add some questions into that here in just a little while. Let's kind of talk about your 2022 season. I mean, you had a hell of a year. I mean, you 4th place in AOI. I mean, you look down your stats, and I mean, you had several top 10s, I mean, and then I was going through just kind of looking at your stats through the years, and you had a couple good years that were not too bad. 2021 and 2020 were not bad years. You know what I mean? They were 30, 39th, and then 2019 was a 9th, and then you had a couple off years, and you had 2016, you had 11th place finish AOI. I mean, so you've had some pretty good seasons, I mean, you probably wish they were better, but all in all, you've had some pretty decent seasons. But what was it different about this year in the past? I mean, now you're kind of becoming a veteran on the series now, on the tour. You've got your feet wet, you got your time in, and you're learning some things. I mean, what has changed in 2022 from the previous years? Are you fishing different, or just things happen to come together?
Well, I mean, the easiest explanation of that is just life. I mean, where do I start? I guess 2021 and 2020, I was kind of going through a bad point in my life. Went through a pretty bad divorce, and I spent a lot of my energy and time trying to make somebody happy at home that you couldn't make happy. And to put it in perspective, fishing is a sport that you've got to be on top of your game and, mentally focused 100% of the time. And when you're worried about what's going on at home and things like that, it just makes our job that much harder. And, fast forward to 2022, got remarried, got refocused, and I think you can see I'm in a lot better place, and I'm more focused on what I need to do because I'm not worried about what's going on at home. And I think, in a nutshell, that has everything to do with my success. It's not, I haven't changed as a competitor. I still, I was still wanting it just as bad then as I do now. But whenever you can put all of your focus into what you're doing and really kind of go after it full steam ahead, you're going to have that, more streamlined success. And that's 2022 was just a result of that. I really feel like.
Yeah. We've spoke with Gerald Swindle, listened to a lot of Gerald Swindle stuff with positive mental attitude, and just with what we do in talking. And we always say that, everything's got to be right at home to work right everywhere else, whether it be your regular 9 to 5 to your, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
if things ain't right at home, your regular job can suffer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not there. You're not focused on your job, and for you guys, that's your job. So I can fully understand where you're coming from on that. And and then things ain't right at work. Sometimes it ain't right at home either. So it's
Right.
it's all got to come together. So, but that's a good answer there with that, and I fully understand. And I always hate asking a question like, these years are bad. Why? Why? But I also like to know, for our listeners that, it is important to be mentally focused when out on the water to be successful. And when you're trapped, especially like what you guys do, I mean, this is y'all's life, this is y'all's livelihood. And for y'all are gone all the time, man. And it takes I tell everybody, it takes a good woman
Oh
to
yeah.
support you to do this. I mean, it does 100%.
And whenever I'm having fun at it, I'm like really competitive. I'm not really thinking about, cashing checks. I'm thinking about I'm not backing this boat in water unless I'm trying to win. And whenever I'm having that level of fun with it, it's pretty easy. I mean, that's the only way to put it. It's not like you're not fighting against other variables that come into play whenever you make it too hard. And I don't know how to explain it. Everything just comes together whenever I'm having a good time. And my wife Morgan, she travels with me to all the events now, and so you're not missing that time. Whenever we do have the kids, they come with her, and I have them all on the road with me. So everything's just kind of balanced out and become a better situation for me as a whole, and it's a lot more fun.
That's awesome. No, that's good. I'm glad to see that. So, you're having fun. Drew, you had a heck of a year. You got that momentum going. So here we are. We're coming into 2023, and but still looking back, was there any events that stuck out? Like, we have a couple events this year that me and James was just talking the other day that we, like Lake Winnipesaukee, went up there and fished that, and caught so many fish. We did okay in it, but it was just we caught so many fish. It was so fun. Is there any events from 2022 that stick out that you're like, man, that was probably the best time I had all year on a particular lake?
Um, Man, it's hard to not mention. And there was a few of them, but it's hard to not mention a couple of them. One would be the St. Lawrence River, Lake Ontario, that smallmouth beatdown. That was just, first of all, we had the weather line up. And let me back up. In practice, it sucked because we had, super big waves and wind, and you couldn't really get out there and figure anything out. And I remember I told myself the last day of practice that it's going to be one in that lake. So I went out there and battled like 4 and 5 foot waves for just about 3 hours. And in 3 hours, I caught 3 fish over 5 pounds. And that just kind of gave me the confidence to roll with it in the tournament. And I really should have made the top 10 in that one. I lost a couple of really, really big ones the last day, but weighed in my biggest stringer smallmouth ever. It was like right at 26, 27 pounds. And just that lake really showed out that week. And unlike any other place, any other smallmouth fishery I've been to, and it was just fun to be a part of. You know, anybody who watches professional fishing or follows tournaments at all wanted to be in that event. I've watched events that I wasn't a part of, and I know everybody that watched that event wanted to be a part of it. And it was just cool to be a part of it and have a good event. I think I finished somewhere in around 15th or so maybe. But the last day I lost 2 fish over 5 right there at the boat. They just come off my drop shot. And I had the biggest fish I hooked all week, which I weighed in like a 6'8". So I had the biggest fish I hooked all week. It come up and did something funny on top and wrapped up in my line, and its gill plate cut my line off right at the boat. I mean, I'm talking like it was probably a 7-pound class fish, you know, easy. And any one of those 3 that I lost, I make the top 10, you know. And but that event sticks out in my mind. And Santee Cooper, you know, my roommate Drew Cook won it. We both love to sight fish, and Santee Cooper's a place that I've been to a lot in the past and never really hit it right weather-wise, and it just stacked up and lined up better than you could script it. You know, we got there at super cold weather, just like we talked about in Florida. Super cold weather, it got the fish set up. We had a warming trend on a moon, and they flooded the bank, and it was just awesome. I had a little bit of some issues on day one that took away, you know, half of my day. I was done at about noon, and I only weighed in like 17 or 18 pounds, and then followed it up with, you know, some mid-20s and upper 20-pound bags, made the cut, made the top 10, and had a chance going into the last day, which is all you can ask for, and just run out of fish. But that lake right there, and those are 2 of the funnest tournaments I fished all year, because number one, I got to fish Santee the way I love to fish, and to experience a lake like Ontario and the St. Lawrence River in its prime, and the way it put out, it'll be in my memory for a long time.
Yeah, that was insane to watch, because we had a tournament, the Hobie event, that came up right after that at Santee Cooper, and I'm watching you guys freaking hammer them, and I'm like, man, this is going to be a phenomenal event. And we get up there, and it was 40-mile-an-hour winds that came in the day of the tournament. We couldn't hardly find any fish on beds. I mean, you guys just sucked them up. You know what I mean? Like, it was tough to find them. And the first day we blanked, and I was like, holy crap. Because that's the first time I've ever been to Santee Cooper. And I'm like, what the crap? This should have been phenomenal. You know, like, I've always looked forward to going there. But yeah, and then I watched, y'all got a YouTube channel, The Cut Line, and watched where y'all fished Santee Cooper down there as well, that series. And it was just really cool to watch you guys rooming together. Both of y'all are in the top 10. You know what I mean? Like, it was just really cool to see, you know, Drew Cook do really well in it. You know, it was just cool to watch all them monster fish being caught. That was a pretty cool show.
Yeah, our little channel's taken off here as of late. You know, we started out just real small and kind of trying to figure out what we wanted to do with it, you know. And really, it's just kind of a behind the scenes of how we break down practice and what goes on that people wouldn't necessarily understand or know about, you know, an elite event if they just watch the coverage. You know, they'd see kind of how we did it, you know, in our own way. And it's really taken off, and I believe we're up to about 29,000 views on our last video from the Mississippi River, which is a huge accomplishment for us because, you know, generally we're in that 6,000 to 7,000 view range on our videos, and to hop in that next category is showing that we're at least bringing something to the table that guys are enjoying watching.
Yeah, I think it's very informative. You know what I mean? Even if you're not saying, hey, this is what I'm catching them on, but just watching you guys and watch how you fishing areas. And I mean, like the Mississippi River, I mean, you stayed on that one spot for a while. You know what I mean? You kept running back to it. And I mean, that goes to show you that how these spots load up, especially the rivers and places that have current. You know what I mean? They stack up in those areas. But it was pretty cool to watch. I've actually been going back through and watching all of y'all stuff. Like while I'm prepping tackle, that's what I do. I put the YouTube on and watch stuff, you know, and I've really loved watching y'all's channel. I think it's just cool because it's got both of two different guys and how y'all break down water. You know what I mean? Because everybody does it different.
Yeah, and two, we kind of do it a little bit different also in the fact that we kind of work as a team, and we share everything, and it picks each other up when we suck in practice or we're having a bad tournament, and it makes it to where you're more consistent across the board, and since we've started it, neither one of us missed a classic, so there's that also. So I think it's definitely beneficial if you're traveling around fishing opens or Toyota series or whatever, to network with other guys that you trust.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and you watch other YouTube channels like Jacob Wheeler and Dustin Connell and all them guys. You know what I mean? Like Mark Daniels, they all sit there and share as much information as they can, and then it's you see all of them do well. You know what I mean? And I think that's key is having. I mean, you can do it by yourself, but it really helps when you got somebody else kind of bouncing ideas off each other's heads, and
For sure.
So, but no, I think it's really cool. I know YouTube is tough, man. We got a YouTube channel. We've been doing we do kayak rigging and bass boat rigging, and we do a little bit of everything on there, and it's tough to grow it. And we had to finally start a second channel because I think everybody was coming there just to watch our rigging videos and they wasn't really watching our fishing stuff. So then we started another channel just with our fishing. So now we're noticing that one. I forgot how hard it was to start a YouTube channel.
Oh yeah,
to grow it.
It's a few years of grinding just to kind of get some momentum, and then hopefully you're not out of money by the time you get that little bit of momentum.
Yeah.
And lucky for us, Baitworks, I guess I can go ahead and announce we just picked them up, and Battleborn's continuing the backing with it. So we have two good sponsors for our show going into 2023, and that's huge. Any product that we use in the tournament will be available at Baitworks. We'll be able to provide links in our description, and we'll actually go through how we caught them, what we used to attack each event, and you'll be able to go right to those links and get them through Baitworks. So it should be a good 2023 for the show for sure.
Yeah, really, really excited about that. Are y'all gonna? I know y'all do some like between tournaments. Y'all do some odd and end videos and all that. Are y'all gonna keep that going too? Or y'all gonna between tournaments try to do some like how tos or?
Yeah, so we started a little deal called Drew's Clues, and it's basically just anything from as simple as to the knots we tie to little bitty tips and tricks, and we're going to sprinkle those in between, and try to kind of feed some, I won't say novice level info, but just stuff that we kind of take for granted and use on the daily that guys can watch and maybe pick up and use to help them catch more fish. So that's going to be sprinkled in on the channel as well.
Yeah. No, that's kind of what you got to do. And then like when you get your off seasons, like now, like we were going out doing some fishing content, but the weather's been crap or we've been hunting, and I'm going to tell you what, hunting, like I love it, but I give it to the people that film it because it is incredibly hard. Just, you put the camera on and you just go. But like when you're hunting, you got deer coming in here or here, you just never know where they're going to come, so like, and then me and my son, my boy, he's a big boy. So like we're sitting in a tree stand together in a buddy stand, and I'm trying to get him to where he can shoot, where I'm not in the way, but I'm also trying to film. And I'm just like, man, I give it these dudes. I don't know how. I need another tree stand is what I need to film.
Yeah.
So
I did a little bit of that self filming, and man, that's I got to give it to those guys that self film and kind of do their own hanging hunts and stuff and lug all that gear in by themselves, and it'll wear you out. I mean, I got away from it this year and I didn't do it, and I wish I wouldn't have, because I had some awesome hunts, and it would have been great to be able to share them, but you almost get burnt out doing what you love by trying to do too much with it. And that can go for fishing as well. That's the thing about the cut line is we've got our guy Scotty that does our videography work and our editing and everything. So we don't really have to handle that part of it. So we don't get burnt out on it. But I can definitely see trying to film your own stuff and cut it up and all that, where it could be too much. And but at the same time, you have this awesome experience and you want to tell somebody about it. And man, it'd be so much easier if you just laid it down on film and you could show them.
Yeah.
It's just one of those catch-22s. But it's also good too, or fun to me, to have something else to do out there in the woods. Besides, you know, obviously you want to kill a big buck or whatever, but having that camera up in there gives you something to do on those days that they ain't moving very good or whatever. You see some other wildlife you can film. I enjoy that, but I'll probably get back to it again next year and see if I can put out some hunting content too.
Yeah. I think that's what we're going to try to work on this coming up year is we're starting deer plots. So once this weather breaks, we're going to start a deer plot series and like show the progression and some of the deer and, use some of the game camera stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I got out of hunting a couple years ago, and all I did was fish. And then my son got into guns, and now he's gung ho about deer hunting. Like he's got. I don't even think he likes fishing that much. Like he's more worried about them big horns than he is a bass. So
Well, you talk about hunting and fishing in kind of an off season. For me, it's almost like they're both 365. They're both something I have to do year round. When I'm not deer hunting and I'm fishing, I'm still feeding protein, I'm still doing food plots, taking soil samples. I'm doing everything year round, but it's just different harvest times. Harvest season for fishing is spring and summer, and harvest season for deer hunting is fall and winter. But it both require your attention all year, and it's just for me, it's the perfect matchup. We're done with our season around August, and I can roll right into hunting. And it's just perfect. I can't I can't imagine doing anything else.
yeah. So I mean, like you do your food plots, like you say, you're checking your soil samples and all that stuff. I mean, so do you do any guided hunts, or is it just for you? I mean,
I don't. I take some friends and stuff, hunting and our both me and my partner Fred, that we manage a lot of land together. Our dads hunt, and he's got a son that's I believe 13 or 14 now. That loves to hunt, and my boys are coming up. They're gonna want to do it, so we're kind of building it for that, around family and whatnot. So I don't do any guide hunts. I did donate a hunt for the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. I believe the guy that bid on it and won is coming next year. We're going to do a thermal hog hunt one night. And then the next day he's going to do a bow hunt. So, but I don't sell hunts or do anything like that. I care about it and enjoy it too much personally to get involved that way. So
no, I don't blame you. I wouldn't either. If I had a lot of land, and I'm the same way, like I don't want to, because then you can't really go and enjoy yourself with the hunt. You know what I mean? Because you're so
right.
focused on your clients. So I just knew you were big in it. I know you did a lot with your land and all that. I didn't know if you did any of that. It's just you're growing them for you. That's it. Your family.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the biggest one you've killed so far?
Well, I guess it would have to be. I killed 161-inch 9-point. That's Southwest Georgia. That's frame wise and all. That's about as big as you're going to get. And I killed 150-inch 8-point with my bow.
Wow.
So it's really hard to get much bigger than that. Obviously, you can get something with a bunch of points and it's going to score well. But as far as an old mature deer, both of those were 6.5 years old, and the mass that they had and everything, you're just not going to get much better than that where we're at. And I was really pleased with that. But it's always incredible to me what you can do just by improving the habitat, improving the land itself. The whole gamekeeper mentality is, leave it better than you found it. And, just by planting as much food as we do and making sure they have water sources and everything that we put into it, just watching the land improve is just incredible to me.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool. That's something we're looking. I know it's going to be a several year process. You know what I mean, to really see good results, and it's just something it's fun for me and the kids, you know, and show them that hard work pays off kind of deal. So that's why we're really getting into it right now. But no, I think it's pretty cool. I was actually watching looking at some of your pictures with that, and some of the big deer you've killed, and I'm like, man, there's some nice ones. Have you followed? My buddy actually just showed me this the other day. It's a guy in Atlanta that does urban hunts with a bow.
Yep.
You seen his stuff? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that's some freaking monsters, man.
Yeah, it's unreal what lives in the suburbs up there of Atlanta, and honestly, it you could have deer like that anywhere in Georgia. It's birthdays that separate. I mean, and what's really interesting is I live down here in Panama City, and so to my farm in Georgia is only an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, and down here in Florida, you can still kill $5 a year, and which is ridiculous. But I'll leave that where it needs. Anyway, up there in Georgia, you can kill $2. You know, it's $2 state. The difference in the animal that you can hunt up there versus what you can hunt in down here in Florida is just night and day. And you know, I'm not one for all this regulation and everything, but you know, when you see the results that imposed on a deer population up there versus what we have down here, man, it's hard to argue that that's a better situation. And those deer up there in the suburbs, what I'm kind of talking around the subject, but what sets them apart from everything else in the state is they don't get hunted as much, or they didn't, you know, when they started. So he was hunting 7 and 8 year old deer,
Yeah.
and whereas anywhere else in the state, you're hunting for 5.5 and that occasional 6.5, 7.5 that made it by 2 seasons, you know. And that's whenever you have a rifle season as long as we do in Georgia, a lot of those deer get killed when they're 4.5, 5.5. And up there in those counties where he's hunting, it's archery only. And that helps
Yeah.
protect them and get them at those extra birthdays. So, I mean, that's the only thing. If you let them, if they've got the food, they've got the resources, and they have the birthdays, they're going to get giant. But unless they get old enough, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I always say. It's just like around here. You got it's another town around us, Lynchburg, and you drive through there, and it's so many big buck. And you can hunt. You just got to have permission from certain landowners and permits from the city, I think. But never had the opportunity to. Just getting back, maybe plan on getting back into bow hunting. But I'd love to go up there and do it sometime. But man, it's just them city deer just so. It's just so big, you know. Like say around here, our rifle season is a good distance, is a lengthy time too. The problem is, I wish they would regulate more like Texas does. I don't know how other states are. Texas is, it's got to be so many inch buck. You know what I mean? So it's hard to regulate it, and sometimes it's hard to judge it when you're out there and you get buck fever and you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
You know, but I wish they would do something more like that. It'd be less spikes killed and less little 4-pointers, and you know.
Right. And I don't want to get too negative with people and what they kill. You know, if it's what makes them happy and, you know, they're getting enjoyment out of it, I don't want to take that away from them. But with what makes me happy and my management goals, it's hard for me to be excited about a neighbor that comes in from South Florida and leases land right next to me, hunts right on my border, and goes and shoots the first 2.5, 3.5 year old buck they see, and then brings their friend and then their friend, and you know, and then before you know it, they've shot 6 or 7 deer, you know, right on top of me, and it bugs me to death. But it's just one of those things that, you know, you just kind of got to live with. But no, I'm definitely serious about it, and I'm too serious about it to an extent. But I enjoy getting something to the max potential so much that it means that much to me, and it's a lot of fun whenever you achieve it, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love it, and I wish, you know, sometimes I wish I had a hunting podcast. I can talk hunting all the time now. Just
Yeah.
but let's kind of get back into fishing a little bit. Let's talk about 2023. We talked about Okeechobee. You went down there and got some practice time in, just running the lake and all that. And what are some lakes? I know that, we always get this answer is, I'm looking forward to all of them. I can't wait to get on all of them. But is there any lakes that really stick out right now that you're just excited to get to for the 2023 season?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it would have to be the number 2 stop. That's Lake Seminole. I live from right here where I'm at. I'm an hour and 20 minutes from there. Growing up, I won't say growing up, but when I started tournament fishing, that's where I got my start. For the most part, I'd travel up there and compete. And for a while, I was very dominant on that lake. I stayed on it, 3 to 5 days a week, and really stayed on the fish and knew where they lived. And it's an awesome fishery. I pretty much honed every skill that I have on the Elite Series at that lake. And then as I started traveling and fishing more, I didn't get to spend much time there. And so I have no clue. I haven't even been on the lake in probably, in any capacity for a couple of years. I filmed a show with Mark Zona. I believe it was around 2019, maybe. And I actually practiced for the show. I went up there and spent 2 or 3 days, and that was the last time that I spent any amount of time on the lake and fished it. And I'm looking forward to getting back up there here in a week or so. I'm going to spend a solid week on it and really try to relearn it, if you will, and try to figure out, what areas the fish are using and what areas are, it's a grass lake. So obviously that's going to dictate a bunch. So I'm looking forward to cracking it again. I've had a lot of great memories out there, a lot of success, and I always said I can't wait to one day maybe fish an elite event close to home, and this is my first opportunity. When I moved up to Georgia at my farm in 2019, we had an event the very next year at Lake Eufaula, and which is only 30 minutes from the house up there. So it was almost like a home lake, but I hadn't spent as much time up there. I was able to practice a lot and really kind of figure it out before that event. I think I finished 3rd or so in that one, but it wasn't that home lake vibe. I didn't ride around the lake and be like, man, how many fish have I caught there? How many fish have I caught there? It was, Seminole will have a different meaning to me this year. And just because I'll have all my friends that I grew up fishing with there, there, and it'll just be a different experience. So I'm looking forward to that one. Looking forward to Santee again. Hopefully we hit it weather-wise, we hit it right. Looking forward to going back to St. Clair. St. Clair's an awesome fishery. I don't like the way it sets up because it's like a bowl, and it's not like Okeechobee. They're not in X number of places. They can be anywhere out there, and it's kind of a little bit hard to find them, but when you do find them, it's acres of them. So it's awesome. I'm looking forward to that one. Man, and you joke, people say, I'm looking forward to all of them. I really am looking forward to all of them.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the challenge. I'm looking forward to the competition. And that's the good thing about hunting in the off season. I recharge my batteries and I get hungry for it again. And I'm hungry for all of them again. So,
yeah. Yeah, no, that's what, and I get that because we're the same way. Like, we've had people ask questions about the Bass Kayak Series that we're doing this year and what events we're looking forward to. And I really am truly, and I told James this, I said, I hate saying this because, when we have like FLW or not FLW, MLF pros and elite pros on, and that's what they say, and I'm always like, yeah, but what's it want, and I'm the same way. I'm like, I really looking forward to all of them because like, like all of them are great fisheries and they all have certain things that, like going north, you got the smallmouth fisheries and, just same thing. But, I'm always looking forward to all of them, like saying, just ready to get back in there and compete at a some sort of level than it is like a local 10 boat tournament. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I guess, the whole Lake Seminole thing, you always hear that, going to a place you have a lot of history with, or, your home lake is almost like overwhelming, and I've always thought about that. And I said, I want that feeling, I want to be overwhelmed with places or ideas that I can catch them. And I just want to see what it's like to fish somewhere where I have a lot of history, and see what it's all about. And like I said, the support that will show up for that one will be really, really refreshing. To be that close to home and have that many people I know show up. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always fun when you can have your family there and friends and all that stuff. It boosts your morale just that much more, And
Mm-hmm.
so, but we got the classic coming up. We don't have far or much time till then. Are you guys planning on going there and fishing any of that, or just running it, or are y'all just gonna wait until the event? Or
So the classic's a little bit unique. It goes off limits January 1st, and being where it's at, I've had a couple of events there now in the past few years. We had the last classic there. Then we had an event there in February, an elite event, and I feel like I know how the lake fishes and lays out and everything. I don't feel like I would have gained much by going in December. So I opted not to go and scout this year. I It should be a good tournament though. Tennessee always shows out for fishing, and it's a great centrally located venue for anybody to come to, and it just sets up really good. We're staying right there on the water. We don't have to travel, from a big city to a lake an hour each morning and afternoon for weigh-in. So that I like that aspect of it for sure. So it should be a fun event.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We was down there last time. That's when Ott Defoe won, and just it was pretty cool. The town of Knoxville and all it's just a pretty cool area. It's congested, like even the expo, like it was crazy, like just getting
Mhm.
around the expo. But hopefully you don't have to work none of that. Hopefully you'll do well.
No, I hope not. The last few classics, just I don't know. I'm ready to not just show up for a classic. I'm ready to show up and compete. It's just one of those events that I look at a little bit different. You know, People say, "Well, swing for the fence" or whatever, but if I don't think I'm on the fish to win, I might not even go fish anything I fished in practice. It's just one of the and my results have showed that. I've really fell on my face pretty hard in every classic I fished except for the first one. I think I was in the top 10 in, but it's not my favorite Tennessee River lake, but I've got a couple events there under my belt, and I kind of understand it a little bit more or better, if you will, than I did the first two trips. So hey, who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's gonna be a pretty cool event. Like I say, you just never know with the weather. Like the weather is so crazy in Tennessee. It's kind of like Virginia. You're in the mountains. It could be really, really cold, or we can have a nice warm.
I'm really curious to get down there and see if that goalpost is still in the river there. I've kind of wondered that.
Never know. Depends on how much rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate you, Drew, taking the time to come on here tonight, man. I don't want to keep you much longer, but it was fun talking with you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
But like I say, I would hit you up for wintertime stuff, but like I say, I know that right now it's just everybody's focused on the classic. Everybody's focused on you've been down in Okeechobee, you know what I mean? In wintertime, man, you're deer hunting. So I'm not even going to really probably hit you up too much for it. Just, I had a good time talking to Leeds.
If I had one bait to give you, wintertime fishing, that's fun to fish and you can cover water with, it's Bagley's B flat. It's a flat sided 3 to 4 foot diver. You can get a little bit deeper on lighter line, and you can 4x4 that thing through laydowns, rock banks, any kind of cover you come to, you can pick it up, and it's got a really tight action, and those cold weather bass will munch on that thing when they won't hit anything else. So that's just, one tidbit that I give you. I've got a few of them tied on whenever I get my boat in here in the next week, and Seminole is off limits. I'm going to spend all my time on the Apalachicola River, flinging that little crankbait around, getting some confidence, catching some big ones on it. So should be fun.
And that is your your go-to, like you're a cranking guy, like you're a reaction bait kind of guy. Like I don't see you throwing much of I've seen you do some finesse stuff if the bite's really tough, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like you're always chunking and winding, you know what I mean? And have good success with that. But,
yep, it's kind of like hunting. It's hard for me to sit still for too long. It's hard for me to flip, and unless I'm in an area where I'm getting a bite every 5 flips, it's hard for me to slow down and do that for sure.
Yeah. I don't. I've always been a slow fisherman. Just my dad. That's how I always fish with my dad, and slowly starting to kind of get into the cranking and all that stuff. I mean, we've done it for years on the rivers, but on the lakes and stuff like that. And I always had it in my mind during the wintertime that I had to go fish slow. I had to go fish deep. I had to do all that stuff. And I'm seeing more and more guys winning tournaments and catching big bags, just cranking shallow water, And I'm just like, wow, okay, well, how I've ever thought bass fishing should be is totally wrong. And
well, I'll ask you this: name one guy that comes to mind that has done more in professional fishing than anybody else. What name comes to mind?
I got 2, KVD and Rick Clun.
Okay. KVD. How many times do you see him flipping?
You don't see him flipping much at all.
There's your answer.
That's right.
Same with Rick Clun. How many times do you see him flipping?
That's right. He's man. He's big. He's a big cranker.
Yep. So that tells you a lot right there. I mean, I think sometimes the name of the game is showing as many fish and presenting your bait to as many fish as possible. And there are times where, you can't do anything else but flip. But I think moving baits is the key.
Yeah. Well, Drew, like I say, man, I really appreciate it, bud. Thanks for the tips here towards the end. It was nice talking with you. And you guys, make sure you go check out the Cut Line on YouTube. Some great content. I love it. I think y'all do a really good job. And I love the behind the scenes stuff. I love the practice and the behind the scenes and just the guys talking at the house at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like it makes you feel like you and your buddies hanging out,
Right.
I enjoy it. So keep the good work up there, and looking forward to maybe we'll meet you down there at the Classic. We'll be down there, and hopefully you ain't working the expo, but if you are, I'll try to come over and shake your hands and have a chance to meet you. But
sounds good.
But man, I appreciate it. Hope you have a good year, man, and looking forward to maybe getting you back on here again.
Okay, Josh, I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, bud. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you still there, Chris? We got you.
Yeah.
Chris, kind of hanging out there.
Yeah.
We've had several questions coming in from Bending Lures. I wanted to kind of get to those.
Wrong one.
Yeah, I did see that one. And like I say, I was trying
I had a question about that.
Yeah, if you got any questions about the 127, you can go ahead and ask them. I seen that you will be on Lake Toho in Kissimmee hopefully this year. I don't think me and James will be in Florida any this year. Not unless we just make a surprise trip to go to Florida, and then we'll be down there for ICAST. But we won't be fishing none back down there this year. And then I seen he had another one talking about Kentucky. Let's see, where was that one? I'm sorry, something about the Hobie Classic. Where was that one at?
Oh,
yeah, there we go. Ask was going to be at the Hobie Classic. No, so me and James are going to kind of pick and choose some events this year. Mainly, we're focusing strictly on bass. I feel like we had a good time fishing Hobie. Had a good time fishing bass. I love them both. Just the way our schedule works out with everything going on, especially with Bass finally releasing their schedule. Thank you, Bass. We want to fish some bass boat tournaments as well. So some of the BFL stuff that's going on locally, we're able to fish that. We won't be able to fish many of them, but we can pick and choose a couple of them. So like the Hobie stuff, I think we might pick one or two depending on our schedule, but we want to do some vacation stuff too. And fish, just like say some local stuff. I'm really excited to get on. Me and Chris to go out and do some night tournaments. I want to fish some night tournaments with my son. I think we're going to stick it to one series and tried to do really well in that one instead of spreading ourselves out so far across the United States and fishing everything. Is the 127 really as stable? People say. I've been talking to them, trying to get them to send me one out to me for my channel and to use in tournaments. The 127 is a good kayak. I don't really have nothing bad. I mean, that's how we started out in a Vibe Sea Ghost, and then we went from the Vibe Sea Ghost, which was a major upgrade to the SS 127. I've really enjoyed it when we had it. That's basically the boat that really got us going. I enjoyed my time with Big Adventures. So actually, when it was bona fide first, I really enjoyed that time before it came Big Adventures, shall I say. After that, it was a train wreck. But you didn't hear me say that. But anyways, but the boat itself was good. And then I went to the Native Titan 12. I really like that one. I like the stability of it better, but that's a boat that you basically need a trailer with. You can load it in the back of your truck and all that stuff. It's just really big. And if you want to really rig it out, the trailer is a lot easier. But like I say, the 127 is a good boat. It's a good all-around boat because we used it in the river all the time. And I mean, going down rapids and all that stuff, and it did really good. Set up Perception Outlaw. Currently not a huge fan. I mean, it works, but yeah. Now I've never been an Outlaw. We got a lot of customers that will order mounts from us, and you know, he's have a trailer set up area. So yeah, I mean, the 127 is nice. You know, it all depends on your budget. I'm a big fan. We've been in a lot of different kayaks, and no, we are not on any pro staff of any kayak company out there. I've been in a lot of different kayaks. I know they're really expensive, but I'm going to say the PA 14 has so far been my favorite kayak. I'm a big dude. So for me to be able to load my kayak down like I do, to have everything, because we come out of bass boats. So bass boat fishermen feel like they got to have everything that they own in their kayak. And that's basically how I am. I mean, I don't have everything I own, but I have a lot of stuff. I'm huge. Buy one, cry once. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I if you get time, I know the PA is not for everybody. If you can get in one, just get in one and try it. And I tell you, I mean, the 127 is a good boat too. It's a great platform. I actually got buddies that still fish out of it and really enjoy it. But I don't know. I feel like it's endless with the Hobie here lately. But they all got their flaws. Not all of them are perfect. I'll tell you that now. I've been in, like I said, a lot of them. And but I do like one. Chris has still got his 127. And
Yeah.
I mean, you love that boat. It's been a great kayak.
Yeah.
You've caught several fish out of it. You know what I mean? Like and you yourself, we've taken it in the river, we've taken it in the lake, and it's done its job. You know what I mean? And it's held up. So I'm not knocking the boat at all. I think it's a good boat. Firearms world, now the fishing world, not really. I'm just starting in the fishing YouTube world. Yeah, it's a tough business. It's a grind. Like I said, we just started. All you guys that are here or that are be listening to this podcast, we just started our One Objective Outdoors channel, where we're going to have a little bit more than just fishing. We're going to have a lot of, mainly, I'm going to say probably 90% of it, 95% of it's going to be fishing. But we're going to have some, ATV in and all that stuff. But anyways, we're wanting to do the hunting stuff too. But we just started it. Right now, I think we're like 248 subscribers, which isn't bad considering that we just started it, So I feel pretty confident on how the channel is doing in the subscribers. I mean, the views that we're getting on our videos to have the little amount of subscribers that we have. So, but yeah, it's a grind. And I'm going to tell you, YouTube is, you got to look at it. And Chris, you've been with us on this since day one, basically. YouTube is it's a grind. Like, I always tell you, it's a 5-year project. You got give it 5, at least make it to 4. You know what I mean? And then see where you're at. It's tough. Long range, extreme long range. Oh man, that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat there. That'd be some good content right there. Just gun stuff. Gun stuff kills it on daggone on YouTube. I like the Recon 120. It's like the best blank canvas to rig. Yeah. I have now. We've had a lot of people ask about us getting into the Recons and all that, and that's going to be one of our soon projects. I do like the layout of the Recons after looking at it. I haven't really looked at them much until here recently when we was kind of going over them and getting some plans. And that is a good looking kayak. Never been in it, but just from the looks of it, and some of the guys that I know that do fish out of them love it and think it's a really great boat as well. It might be worth looking into, but I haven't been in one, so I couldn't really tell you my personal opinion on it. But there's a lot of kayaks out there, but there's very few that I think really highly of. And like say, one of them is the like what he was saying there, the Titan 12 Super Stable. One of them's the Titan. The other one's a Bonafide, the Hobie. To be honest with you, a lot of people, I don't know why they would laugh, but some people might laugh. But when it comes to rigging a kayak and wanting a cheaper kayak, is the Crescent Crew. Really impressed with the Crescent Crew. Me and James are. I mean, it's a tandem seater, but it's long enough that you can sit in the center and you can load that thing down with your tackle, have your trolling motor on the front or the rear, whichever way you want to go, and you can do a little bit of everything with it. I was really impressed with the Crescent Crew actually too on that one when we did our filming with it. So, but yeah, it's so many different. Man, I always just tell people try them out. If you got a buddy or you can get on one of the forums and just go out there and get in one, I would try a couple of different ones out before you really settle. I mean, we've gotten customers that have bought PAs and just didn't like them, just didn't like the feel of it, didn't like the pedal, whatever. I don't know. But, and then, you got your guys that are PA guys that are like ride or die kind of dudes, they ain't nothing else. So, I don't know. I really enjoyed mine, but I definitely take the time and look at them all really well and just look at the, how they're built, and the quality. That's a big thing. Quality's big, especially when you're paying that kind of money for a boat and you're going to rig it with a lot of stuff. You want to make sure it's going to hold up to what you're going to do with it. So, but I want to thank everybody that has tuned in tonight. It's been fun. Nice getting back into a routine. Like say, I got all the month of January planned out for the rest of the season. Next show, going to drop it right here. Zona's going to be on our next show. So, got a couple more Elite Pros, one MLF Pro for the next, not right after Zona. So, it's going to be a fun year this year. We're jumping back in it. We're going to start doing these podcasts more regularly. Chris, I mean, him being able to run it from his house too makes it a lot easier. If he can't make it down here, because Chris is a good, what are you, about 45 to an hour?
50 minutes.
50 minutes. So yeah. So yeah, he got a good little trip back and forth driving back down. And Chris is a big part of the show, man. Chris helps run this thing. So I ain't got to touch no buttons. He takes care of everything. He makes sure it's all set up. It takes the stress off of me so I can just focus on getting good guests on and talking to these guests. Because if I had to run the show and talk to these guests, I wouldn't hardly have many questions, or I'd be stumbling over my feet because I can't do two things at the time. So I do really appreciate you, Chris, for all you've done for this show. It's been a blessing for sure. He said, "Is the Hobie PA 14360 been updated and fixed the drive issue it had when it first released? Looking at getting one now. We don't have the very first release, so ours is a 2022, is what ours is." And I, knock on wood, me or James has had a minute problem with the pedal drive system in it. The only issue that I had with mine was the tube that runs through for the 360 drive. They put they put this cheap tubing inside of there, and it needs hose clamps on it. That's what it needs. I think I had a zip tie on one side of it. Anyways, if you looked, I had like a bulged out piece, so water was coming in through that and going down into my boat. So I ended up putting a pipe clamp on there, hose clamp on there. And so far, so good. Ain't had no problems with it. I can't speak for everybody, but like say, knock on wood, we have not had any issues with our 360 drive. And I'm going to tell you, we have used the bejeez out of them things. I mean, beating them when we went down to Lake Fork, beat them to death. I mean, it's so extreme. And we beat them things to death. When we went to, not Winnipesaukee, but Wolf and Fox. I mean, man, you're getting up in that tight grass. I mean, I've been in a couple different pedal drives, and any kind of pedal drive that has a propeller system, I do not like that much because of the grass. I don't fish grass a lot, but when I do get in, I don't like being bound up. And when I was in the Titan was great. But if that thing sniffed grass, it was bound up. It was done. I just didn't like their pedal drive system with it. And now they got it in the P127, I'm not happy with that pedal drive system. The Hobie pedal drive system just seems a lot better to me on how free it is and all that stuff. So, but that's my opinion. Is XI3 worth it on a Titan? Absolutely. That's all I run. When I had my Titan, like I was just talking about the pedal drive system, I hated the pedal drive system. I took the pedal drive system out and never took it with me. I would paddle that kayak back before I used the pedal drive system. And that's how I felt about it. I locked the rudder down in the back so it was straight, and I put the XI3 in the front and loved the boat. The boat I loved it. It was really fun. You should get a kayak. You should get Kayak USA on. He's a really good super. Yeah, we can work on something like that. I think that would be a good guest to talk with. Send me some information on my Facebook on either One Objective Messenger or something like that. And or you can email us at oneobjectivebf@gmail.com, and I'll look into him and maybe getting him on talking kayaks and all that stuff. So, but like I say, if you haven't, guys, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Also, if you listen on iTunes, please go give us a rating, hopefully a good rating. That really helps us out when we get those good ratings. And let us know why you like the show in the comments below there. You can do a 5-star and then just do a little comment, why you like the show. Josh is super awesome, stuff like that. I like that stuff. I'm just kidding. You ain't got to write that, but I do like that stuff. But anyways, but just write a comment down. I really like that. Like say on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, the notification button, because every time a new YouTube video comes up, it'll come on there. And then also check out our One Objective Outdoors channel. That's where a lot of our content here recently has been going over. So if you follow us on a regular One Objective channel and ain't seen much content, that's why, because a lot of it's been going over there because it's all fishing related and techniques and tips and stuff like that. But other than that, guys, I don't really have much more to say. I hope you guys have a great New Year's. We're into 2023, and it's about that time to start ramping up for fishing. I know you guys in the southern parts of the United States, y'all are going. Y'all are ready to rip it, and then you got your crazy ones that love to stand on ice and catch them. Good for you guys. That's not for me, but but looking forward to seeing some fishing pictures. If you want to, you can tag us on Instagram and on Facebook, or you can just say hashtag One Objective BF, and we'll see the tags and we'll share them in our stories and all that stuff. So also one more time, make sure you go to waterlandco.com. You get 15% off with the using One Objective. That helps the channel out. So help support the channel and also help support a great sunglass company. So but other than that, guys, we'll talk to you later. Hope you guys have a safe and fun weekend and week, and we'll see y'all next Sunday.